Welcome back, MTG Joe here. Today, we're going to be looking at the weekly meta breakdown for the Explorer Best of 1 format. It's actually been a while since I covered Best of 1. I was doing Best of 3 for a couple weeks in a row because I was playing or practicing for my RCQ, which was Pioneer, so I wanted to get as close of a sample that I could based on Arena client to practice for that event, just kind of understand the meta. But we're going to be covering Best of 1 today. As always, you get the data from Untapped GG, companion tool that runs alongside Arena's client, aggregates users' win rates, gives a whole bunch of cool stats. So if you want to use Untap, link is in the video description. I will paste the deck list and timestamp it so you can just pull it into Arena for your discretion. We will be looking at only Mythic rank for the actual stats, but for popularity of the day, we're going to look Diamond to Mythic, as there's not a huge density of just Mythic only data. Given that we haven't done this in a while, I'm actually going to do about a month's worth of data just to give us a nice kind of trend with the new set, the Outlaws of Thunder Junction, basically the entire duration that set's been legal. In terms of popularity of the day, we have Mono Red Aggro Burn, kind of the Wizard's Burn at just a shade under or over 11%, Abzan Amalia at 9%, and we have just kind of like Mono Black Discard at 5, Rakdos Vampires at 5, Azorius Control 2, Boros Rogues. So it's been pretty linear, all things considered. Like we pop in a couple more of the decks here. In terms of trends, like we see, it's basically been a two-horse race, Amalia and the Mono Red deck, just kind of competing with each other in terms of the popularity. So we are going to look, like I said, best of 1, April 16th through May 21st. So even just a little bit more than a month's worth of data. 9,400 games played in Mythic rank. And the highest win rate deck's actually a pretty wild one, 74% win rate. It's a Azorius control deck, but not a typical control deck. It's kind of a combo control. So you have Coveted Falcon, 3 mana, 1/4. When it attacks, you gain control of target permanent you own, but don't control. But you can disguise it. When you flip it face up, target opponent gains control of any number of target permanents you control, and you draw a card for it. So what you're basically trying to do with this deck is you you disguise this, and then you donate them 9 lives, and then either with Cleansing Nova, Farewell, Devastating Mastery, you blow up all enchantments, and they lose the game that way there. Which is kind of wild and kind of cool. Otherwise, just like your typical control cards, marches, various removal spells, some card advantage engines all mixed in. Like you can give them Omen of the Sea after you already get the card draw, so you see something like that in it. So kind of a cool one. Not your typical Teferi Wandering Emperor style control deck. It's like donating them and then blowing up their world that way there. From there, we go to Abzan Amalia. So there's like 8 different versions of this, like one-off cards difference, but the core of the deck is Amalia, Benavides, then we have Wild Growth Walker, and then anything that can gain you a life, Prosperous Innkeeper, Luminarch Veteran, a ping from like Deep Cavern Bat, anything with lifelink. Creates a loop where you gain life each time you explore, which then gives you Wild Growth Walker triggers, creates a loop, and then you get Amalia to 20 power and it blows up everything else you could attack your opponent in. You can stack and gain a bunch of life, basically just dig through your deck until Aetherflux Reservoir is your next draw, and then you can also win like that if they kill the Amalia. You have Collected Company, Court of Callings, Return to the Ranks, all ways to find the Amalia. The one card that's a little odd in this is the Scattered Groves. There's a couple lists that were playing this. I don't think you want any tap lands in this deck. You very much want to curve out. Tap lands should not be played. You can play like Concealed Courtyard. You can just play another duel, I would suggest, but I would not be playing Scattered Groves in this list. We have Azorius Spirits, so 69% win rate on this one here. So you have it's kind of a tempo deck. We have some new cards in Dust Animist. So it's a flying 2 mana 2/3, but you can plot it, and then if you have 5 or more untapped lands, it comes into play with 2 counters on it and gains lifelink. So in the late game, you can also get some value out of it as well. I actually don't know how the interaction works. So if you plot this, it has to be cast at sorcery speed, but with Rattle Chains, it lets you cast your spirits as though they had flash. So I don't know if that supersedes it. I think it does, but I'm not 100% sure. But otherwise, like Mausoleum Wanderers, like tempo effects, you basically are just protecting your stuff through like cheap counter spells, Geist Snare, the protection from Hexproof. You can make your Lord effects with Supreme Phantom. Or this one's a little bit more interactive. Portable Hole, Get Lost in here, Skyclave Apparition. Giada also lets you play cards from the top of your library. Spell Queller can interact on the stack as well. Cavern of Souls in the mana base, Restless Anchorage, and then Mutavault as well. You then go to Wizard's Burn at 69%. So this version here is, you'll see like the Gruul version, a little bit more creature, or like a Tarka Command version. You can see pretty much like with Questing Druid without the, in Best of One, it seems like the mono red deck just being the most linear, cleanest mana. So you have the Wizard package with Soulscar Mage, Get Through Lava Runner, Slick Shot. That enables you to have access to Wizard's Lightning. This version is also on Bone Crusher Giant. So lots of burns, Skewer the Critics, light up the stage for card advantage, Play with Fire, Kumano, Swift Spirit. Just very linear aggro burn deck. The one thing I would say, play Den of the Bugbear in the mana base. It's basically free, just substituting a mountain. I'd play 1 to 2 dens. That would be my only suggestion for the deck. Moving on, we go to Rakdos Sacrifice, 68%. So nothing really new with this one here. Thoughtseizes, Fatal Pushes, Claim the Firstborn, good against all these small creature decks. You get the ping engine going with Mayhem Devil, Witch's Oven, and Cauldron Familiar. Fable to kind of set up your draws. Single copy of Kroxa in here as well. Nothing really too innovative for that. We're just seeing kind of a return to this one because kind of pushed out for a while. When blue-white control with like a lot of temporary lockdowns, farewells, stuff like that comes around, it's a little rough. But these creature piles, it tends to do fairly well in the kind of the creature mirrors. Rakdos Vampires, 65%. So there's a couple different variants. This one's on the Archfiend of Dross kind of backup plan as well, but core of the deck is to just be really good at Magic and always have turn 3 Sorin into putting Vein Ripper into play. Your backups are like Dusk Legion Zealot, Blood Tithe Harvester, Preacher, the Schism. A lot of interaction here. Fatal Pushes, Thoughtseizes, Duress, bunch of removal. Fable kind of pulls the deck together, just kind of looting the cards you don't need. If you're against, say, control, you don't need Fatal Pushes, stuff of that nature. And then Archfiend can help close out the game pretty fast. The Archfiend ability of like the Drain plus Vein Ripper is just really powerful in terms of pushing out damage. The card you might see sometimes is also Smuggler's Copter. Just helps you kind of do similar looting effects. It's actually, I think, better in probably best of 3, just because a lot of times like the green decks will bring Pick Your Poison in. Smuggler's Copter can be animated into another flying creature, so it insulates you from Vein Ripper, which is kind of cool. And then lastly, we have Dimir Rogues, 58%. So a couple, like, I'd say weirder choices, but also like some new cards showing up. So you have 2 Tiny Bones in here. Being a rogue, can eat away at the graveyard, which is nice, which you're already milling your opponent. We see Fairy Mastermind in here. I don't know, like, so it's playing the Jace Valky combo, which I think is super reasonable. They all kind of fit into the shell. And then Jace helps you kind of loot through your deck when you get the wrong half portion. I don't think you want to play Insatiable Avarice. It's basically like the tutor effect for the combo, but I think just especially because you're going to be naturally milling as well, play more proactive cards. Even if you just want to play more card draw, stuff like that, more interaction would probably be more reasonable. Like you're playing Cut Down over Fatal Push. I would probably play Fatal Push. There's more copies of that. Just a little bit more interaction, all things considered. I probably would not be playing Halo Forger. It's a little too slow, but gives you some ideas. You see like 3 steps ahead. There's just a number of like odd one-of kind of cards that I think can be foregoed for just more impactful, cheaper cards. Just playing like more interaction, stuff like that, I think would be more reasonable. But Jace Valky combo, very powerful. Basically, Jace, you plot the Valky, and then you can cast the Tybalt side for 0 mana and get that out. Otherwise, it's just like rogue synergies, kind of mill your opponent out that way there. That's it for the week. Let me know what you think, what you've been playing, if you've been enjoying the best one format, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching.